Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, February 6th, 2025. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. This week, Chris Colby, author of the Homebrew Recipe Bible, Methods of Modern Homebrewing, and How to Make Hard Seltzer. Homebrewer Scott Housel and Adam Ross of Twin Span Brewing join me to taste my Brown Forest Light Mash Your Luck beer and to formulate a Bock for my next brew. If you want to support us financially, check out patreon.com/basicbrewing, and many thanks to everybody who is helping out in that way. If you go to patreon.com/basicbrewing, you can see a long list of stuff that you can access if you sign up as a supporter. And many thanks to the new Patreon subscribers who are signing up every week. Your help is very much appreciated. Steve Wilkes and I have 2 video episodes in the can, and financial supporters will see the first one this week along with a behind-the-scenes video and a recipe for the beer. It's the little tart beer went into the Beach Boys all of a sudden. It's the little tart beer that we'll taste on this very show that you're listening to right now. Steve had a surprising reaction, which is, it's made me question the viability of my taste buds. I don't know. Are they dulling? Am I losing it? Probably. Good news coming from the Tulsa area. Our very good friend, Desiree Knott, formerly of High Gravity, is now the head mead maker at Dancing Skeleton Meadery in Sapulpa, Oklahoma. I'm very excited about this. Desiree is a very talented brewer and winemaker, so this sounds like a perfect fit. I want to arrange a meetup so Steve and I can taste some delicious Dancing Skeleton meads. Yesterday, I got an order from Small Batch Boutique, where Desiree's husband, Dave, works. I'm very excited about brewing that beer, which we formulate in the second part of this week's show. It calls for the seasonal yeast from our friends and sponsors at Imperial Yeast. L18 Goat is Imperial's seasonal Bavarian lager yeast. Goat is available now, and Casey at Imperial told me it's the Eyinger strain, and it's said to have balanced, complex malt character with hop flavors and aromas. Since this is going to be a pretty big beer, and I'm lagering it, I went ahead and made a 2-liter starter. Within just a couple of hours, however, that starter was very active, and it was done overnight. So I really wonder whether making a starter was necessary at all for this beer. But, you know, with a big lager fermented cool, I always want to hit the ground running. Generally, as you know, I don't make starters anymore for moderate gravity 5-gallon batch ales, thanks to the 200 billion cells in each packet of Imperial yeast. My stir plate is dusty, and my airlocks are usually bubbling before bedtime. And I'm sure that when I pitch L18 Goat from this 2-liter starter, even at lager temperature, I bet you within just a couple hours that beer is going to be taken off like a rocket. Take advantage of the cold weather and brew you a lager with L18 Goat from Imperial Yeast. Ask your local homebrew store to stock up, and you can check out all the dependable deliciousness at imperialyeast.com. That's imperialyeast.com. Okay, let's taste a tart little beer and make a plan for a big malty one. Chris Colby, welcome back to Basic Brewing Radio.
Hey, James. Thanks for having me on the show.
Last time we were together, we formulated a recipe for a Black Forest-inspired beer to go with my Mash Your Luck challenge. And the guys that were with me when I rolled the Mash Your Luck challenge were Scott Housel, home brewer from Florida, or a home brewer from Florida.
Whatever you want to call me.
And Adam Ross from Twin Span Brewing in Bettendorf, Iowa.
Happy to be here.
I did record a couple of video episodes with Steve earlier today, but I didn't even have a whole beer that whole time, and it's been hours, so I should be okay, I swear. Maybe I need some coffee, or maybe I need another beer. So what we've got is...
Maybe you need a coffee beer.
Well, there you go. We've got the black. I'm calling it the Brown Forest Light beer because the parameters that I rolled last time were low ABV, low bitterness, brown, sour, of German origin and or influence. So does that sound familiar to anybody?
Yes.
So, I mean, would a Lichtenheiner, would that have fit into those characteristics, Scott, do you think?
I think if you made it browner, sure.
So you've already done one of those, though. So I was thinking, and, Chris and I were texting back and forth, and I don't know if, in talking to Matt Giovanisi about his holiday beer that he was, I don't know if Black Forest Cake came up at that point or not, but it came into my head as we were texting, hey, as kind of a joke, I should make a Black Forest beer, because it's brown. It could be brown. There's some tart aspects with the cherry in there. It'd be nice and chocolatey. If we could figure out how to make a low ABV version of that, I think it could be tasty. So what we came up with was a 2-gallon batch, 1.5 pounds or 680 grams of Pilsner. All these are Pilsner or Weyermann malts. 1.5 pounds or 680 grams of Pilsner malt, 8 ounces or 227 grams of dark Munich, in 8 ounces or 227 grams of Cara Munich 3, which is a 60 Lovibond crystal malt. So I mashed that at 152 degrees Fahrenheit or 67 C for 1 hour, and I added at the beginning of turned out to be a 2-hour boil because I put way too much water in at the beginning of started with 3.5 gallons of water. I put in 8 ounces or 227 grams of lactose because we wanted a residual sweetness. And I bittered with 1 ounce or 28 grams of Czech Sats at 2.5% alpha acid. And so wound up boiling for 2 hours to get my starting gravity of 9 bricks or around 1036. Fermented with USO5. And the final gravity turned out to be 1018. Now, on the software that I occasionally use, the calculator I use, it said it was 2.3%. Brewfather said that Brewfather said it was 2.4%. Anyway, so it was like a 1% lower than what we targeted. We wanted it to be around 3.5%. Brewfather, I plugged that recipe into Brewfather. It predicted if we started out at 1041, it would have finished at 1015 for 3.4%. So it predicted 1041, 1015. I actually did 1036 and 1018. So, with just those tight margins, I lost a percentage point of alcohol. But after fermentation, Susan and I racked the beer into the bottling bucket, and to that beer, we added 2/3 of a cup of a cacao nib tincture, which was 2 ounces of cacao nibs in. Started out to be a cup of water, but I lost a third of a cup. So that's essentially 2/3 cup cacao nib flavored vodka, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 ounce of black cherry flavoring, and 1 ounce of lactic acid. And the reason that I did that's a long story. Tune in next week. But the reason I did the lactic acid is that, Chris, you and I talked about doing a kettle soured starter. So making a starter wort and then putting probiotics in there to sour that, and then sort of adding that pre-fermentation, to kind of, pre-sour the beer that way. Well, I used this kind of off-brand probiotic that I'd never used before, and it didn't work. It didn't work at all. So that's why I resorted to the lactic acid in the end. And I went looking around for the Good Belly probiotic shots, and I couldn't find any. But I got a couple of emails, one from Steve in Roswell, Georgia, from the North Georgia Malt Monkeys, who said, I've had good success when kettle souring with Good Belly probiotic juice. So not just the shots, but the juice. Unfortunately, I don't see a cherry flavor, though the actual flavor contribution is pretty minimal in a 5-gallon batch. And then listener Jacob wrote in, regarding kettle sours, I started off using Good Belly juice from the supermarket with good results and very minimal flavor impact on the finished beer. As Good Belly juice became harder to find here, I switched to Good Belly probiotic capsules, so little pills, which were available at the pharmacy or on Amazon. Jacob says, I really preferred the capsules because of the longer shelf life as opposed to the juice, which had a recommended shelf life of 14 days after opening. The capsules could keep in a refrigerator for months, Jacob says. So,
I was going to say I've used the Good Belly juice professionally. It was about two. They come in the 2-quart or single-quart cartons or 2-quart cartons. They're not very big, and they're good and active because the little cardboard containers start to swell if you leave them on the counter for more than a couple minutes.
Oh.
So and then active culture for sure. And it really only takes me 2 of those per barrel when I've done it, and I've had good results. And yeah, whatever flavoring they say is pretty minor. You wouldn't want to rely on cherry Good Belly juice to make a cherry sour beer. The cherries better come from somewhere else.
right.
But anymore, I use sour Vissier, it creates lactic acid as it ferments, and it's just way more repeatable and easier. I don't actually have to tie up a kettle. But yeah, Good Belly would be my vote if I couldn't do that.
And Scott, have you used the Good Belly in your souring?
I have, but I haven't been able to find it for quite a while. But yeah, I've also done the put some grain in and use the lactobacillus that's on the grain, and that worked well also. And
Chris, you're not a kettle souring guy, are you?
No, everything I've done has been souring during fermentation, either by making a wild starter or most often by using cultured bacteria.
So there's some good experience. So I read the label on the probiotic shot. Steve said it's probably, instead of a probiotic, it was an amateur biotic. But I thought it was funny. But it was I can't remember what the lactobacillus strains were, but I don't think there was anything active in there. I think it was just like flavored juice, because nothing happened at all. Anyway, so we can taste the beer and see if what we think of just cheating and souring with just lactic acid post fermentation.
It's a lot of lactic acid. How big a batch was this again?
2 gallons.
And you did an ounce. That I haven't opened the bottle yet, but that sounds like it's gonna be intense.
And this is not very highly carbonated. Now, Steve thought it kind of knocked Steve's socks off. He thought it was pretty tart, but I didn't think it was that tart. Ooh, smells good. It smells like cherries. Cheers.
So mine, your bottles almost froze or slightly froze in transit. They looked a little slushy in the bottle, but this is definitely well carbonated.
Nice.
And yeah, it wasn't too damaged.
That's a nice light brown.
Yeah, that's
pretty color.
So Scott's already judging.
Yeah. Sorry. So let's just jump right in. I'll start.
just joking.
For those who aren't on the video feed, it's a light brown, amber, cloudy. Maybe that's just mine because it froze partially, but mine looks pretty darn cloudy. And I was careful not to shake up the bottle.
Mine was clear until I got to the end of the bottle and it poured out a little bit of yeast sediment.
Yeah, it's bottle conditioned and fairly chunky.
Mine's perfectly clear. I stopped before I poured it all, so.
Yeah, mine is a little teeny bit of haze.
Nice head, though, and it's still there.
Now, I did some math. While y'all are tasting and judging, I did some math because I was like, boy, this is, because there's all the talk about, being nervous about the food safety of low gravity beers, and I was like, well, I don't want to poison my friends. But number one, I soured it I added acid, so that lowered the pH. So stand by for some math. If we're saying the beer was 2.5% or 2.3% ABV, there's 7,571 milliliters in 2 gallons. You multiply that times 0.023 for the percent of ABV. So you get 174 milliliters of alcohol in the whole batch. So in 2/3 of a cup of vodka, there's 158 milliliters. You multiply that times 0.4 because it's 40% ABV. So you get 63 milliliters of alcohol just in that 2/3 of a cup. So you add those two together, 174, 63. And so you get 237 milliliters total. 237 divided by 7,571, which is the original milliliters in 2 gallons, you get 0.031. So the final ABV estimate for this is like 3.1% ABV. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Does that check my math check? So by adding the vodka, I raised the alcohol, and by lowering the pH with the lactic acid, I think we're safe. I drank one the other day and I didn't die. So who wants to be judgy first? Adam's the most judgy. What do you think?
I'm the most judgy? Really? Colby's here?
Oh, well, that's right.
Sure, I'll go first, but again, with the caveat that my bottle might be different than everyone else's because by no act of yours, James, we got to below 0 Fahrenheit, and the bottles, I got them off the porch as quick as I could, but they look like there was head inside of the bottle. It was foamy and it looked a little slushy.
Ooh.
So mine might be a little different take than everyone else's. Like I said, cloudy, amber brown, beautiful head. It's still sticking around. Not a ton on the nose that I'm getting. And maybe because we've been talking Good Belly, but I had a swig of Good Belly juice earlier today, and undeniably there's lactic acid in here. Like if you split a beer with lactic acid, citric acid, and whatever else to sour, you could pick this one out of a lineup and say this one's a lactic sourness. It has that. If you had told me you had used a bunch of Good Belly cherry juice in there, I'd be like, yeah, this tracks.
Is that good or bad?
It's intense. You said Steve tried to knock his socks off. I might be in that camp. This is a little more sour than I'm used to. It's very drying. It's almost souring to the point where I'm getting, I don't want to say astringency, but maybe it's the acidity. It's kind of puckering the inside of my mouth. It's not bad. It's just it's an intense for how small it is of a beer. Like I want something else to balance out the acidity.
Wow.
I'm going to drink the whole thing, and I'm enjoying it, and I'll probably share the second bottle with my wife. So certainly, how was that for a compliment sandwich?
Scott, is this? I mean, you're the sour man. Do you think it's that sour?
I'm not finding it immediately that sour, but I can see what Adam's talking about with the effects in your mouth. So I feel like it tastes like a tart cherry, definitely. But you get kind of like almost like just taking a piece of lemon and taking a bite at it. Some of that sensation. But I don't think the flavor it's not hitting me as super sour.
Chris, you're a sour man.
Yeah. No, yeah, I like intensely sour beers like lambics and stuff, and so it's for me the level of acidity is nice, level of sourness is nice. Like I can get the cherries out of it, and I think the balance is good. It's like with the lactose in there, and there was some Well, there was some Kara something in there, right?
Yeah, there's the 60 level bond Kara Munich 3.
Okay, yeah, and you could. I think that bumped up the body of the beer just enough uh, with the sourness or whatever that it sort of balanced out the sourness. And I mean, I'm not really getting super strong chocolate out of it, but it's to me this is a well balanced, very drinkable beer.
I think the chocolate definitely takes a back seat. I wish there was more chocolate. It's not like a Black Forest cake by any stretch of the imagination. It's more of a sour cherry beer with a teeny bit of chocolate in the background, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Totally forgotten that you'd added chocolate. I know you just said it, but
Yeah, I forgot to.
did not register chocolate as one of the mine. If I was judging this at a competition, I wouldn't. And you had called out chocolate, I would ding you for that because I'm not getting a noticeable level of chocolate in my palate.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think? What do y'all think of the cherry? You know, this is cherry flavoring. You know that it got from a small batch boutique. What do you think? It's black cherry. What do you think of the character of the flavoring? Does it taste natural to you guys, or is it artificial?
I wouldn't say it tastes artificial. Definitely tastes like cherry and tart. And I don't know, maybe the chocolate's adding something that I can't put my finger on. And you said vanilla too,
Oh
right?
yeah, there's like half a teaspoon of vanilla. What did I say?
Yeah, it feels. I mean, it all feels a lot
Teaspoon.
thicker than a 3% beer. It doesn't feel light, and I think that really helps it. It's got a lot of body to it.
I thought the cherry character was good. It's not intensely artificial. Like if you had a Jolly, it's like a Jolly Rancher cherry. It's not that kind of flavor, but it's not also. I mean, you can tell if you've made whole cherry beers before, that yeah, it's not made from real cherries, but not bad by any stretch.
Yeah, this is as this is warming up, and I'm really trying to heat it up in my palm, and I'm giving it a good sniff. I'm getting the thing that came to my mind was those cherry cordial candies that you can get around Christmas time, like the
Mm.
Queen Anne, um, which does have chocolate. That's chocolate, and then surrounded by some kind of I don't even know what that is, some kind of simple syrup type solution, and then the neon pink cherries in the middle of that. That's what this is on the nose is reminding me of now that it warms up, which I quite like those.
Hmm.
Yeah, I totally get that. As soon as you started to say that, it made a lot of sense.
The way that Susan and I flavored it, we put it in the bottling bucket straight out of the fermenter, and then we added the cacao nib tincture, and we wound up adding all of it because it was like, we need more chocolate. If I had more, I probably would have added more. Then we added the black cherry flavoring until it kind of got to the level where we wanted it. Turned out an ounce is where we wanted, and then I added the lactic acid, and that really brightened up that cherry flavoring. If the lactic acid wasn't in there, I don't think the cherry would taste as cherry-ish as it does. I don't think it would. I think it would have been more sort of, I guess flabby is a wine word, but it really brought it to the surface and brightened it up and really, accentuated it.
That's the thing about brewing fruit beers, and I've brewed, I don't know, some, like a reasonable amount. Getting enough sugar in like enough sweetness in the beer helps, depending, especially for fruits that are higher in sugar, and then also getting the acid level right really helps bring out the fruit character and makes it identifiable as that fruit. If it's not really sour enough, or not even sour for some fruits, but not acidic enough, like it's hard to peg, or the flavor just tastes weird.
Hmm.
And then also if it's like bone dry and you've got some sort of fruit in there, it sometimes doesn't taste good. I mean, I've mostly brewed, if I brew with fruit, it's mostly been raspberries
Hmm.
because those add that's a tartness of their own, and then you don't need to add like a lot of crystal malt or lactose, or you don't need it to make it intensely sweet to recognize, oh, that's a raspberry.
Hmm.
You can put them in lambics, and then those get dry as hell, and you taste them, and they oh, that's raspberry.
Yeah, I brew a lot of fruit beers, and I agree 100%. Adding acid to a fruit beer is like adding salt to a lot of savory dishes. It kind of makes it taste more like itself. I use lime juice. I can get in source gallons of lime juice pretty cheap, and I like the flavor. It tastes more, quote, natural to me to brighten a fruit beer with lime juice rather than lactic acid or straight citric acid. Although citric acid gets pretty close too. Um, and lime juice, I haven't ever gotten to the point yet where I added so much that I have to start saying lime is one of the fruits in that beer. Um, yeah, at a homebrew level, you'd probably just add a few ounces at most of lime juice to a 5-gallon batch, and you'd probably get where you needed to be there.
I'm starting to smell the vanilla a little bit in the nose, which smells chocolatey. So are we ready to be judgmental?
I already thought I was.
I mean officially. Okay, so let's look at so low ABV. These are the check marks. I would say low. We could definitely say low ABV.
Mm-hmm.
Low bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Brown.
Yeah.
Looks brown. Sour. Yeah, we'd say sour. I think with the reference to Black Forest and using German ingredients and that sort of story behind the thing. Do you think it's of German influence?
If you shred the Reinheitsgebot, yeah.
As one should.
That's what
Yeah, seriously. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we got all the check boxes. Okay. Theme/originality. This one's worth 5 points. So Scott, I'll start with you on theme/originality from 1 to 5 or 0 to 5.
I love the name. I love the concept. I thought that was a really nice idea. I'm going to go with a 4.
Okay. I'm happy with it. Chris, do you want to judge or not? I mean, you helped formulate the recipe. Would it be fair?
Does boost my own rating? Yeah, I'd say 6 out of 5.
Adam, theme/originality.
So when you got these parameters, my mind went towards, as it does, towards historic German recipes. And if I would have gotten these, I would have dug deep into some obscure beer style that died off ages ago that was sour and brown, because a lot of beers would have been sour and brown back then. So I would have lost points here, but you went and you tied it into a German dessert. I don't think you quite got there. I can get it. But after my mind locked onto those cherry cordials, I'm like, that's what this is. That can't be anything else. So I don't know if we're allowing half points, but I would give you a 4.5 if we are.
Okay, somebody else is going to have to add this up. But anyway, okay, 4.5. Cool. Okay, we'll start with you, Adam, this time. Appearance from 3 points possible.
I mean, it's brown.
I mean, yours got frozen, so.
Yeah, I don't know how much my point's worth. You guys can see it on camera, and I'm behind. It's pretty cloudy, and I think I did a good job with a steady pour, but yeah, 3 out of 3, because it never called out it had to be clear either.
Right, yeah. It's a made up thing. Scott?
Oh yeah, that's a 3. Mine was perfectly clear. It looks really nice.
Cool. All right, Scott, we'll start with you. Aroma, up to 5.
Aroma, I can smell the cherry. I'm going 4 again.
Adam, aroma.
It gets so much lactic on the nose that it's still also reminding me of the Good Belly itself. I gotta go 3.
All right. Okay, Adam, flavor, up to 10.
Man, is this the
Hey, now
is this the last score? Is this the last point?
No, the last one is the finish, 1 to 2. Now,
let's do a 7.
okay.
I get the German inspired character of the malt. It's a very malty malt. I get a little bit of chocolate now that warms up. I get the cherry doesn't taste artificial to me, but it still keeps us saying, good belly, lactic. It's the only thing holding you back there.
All right. Scott, flavor up to 10. 10 possible points.
I'm going 7 also.
Okay.
I think it's very tasty. Yeah, 7.
All right. Scott, finish from 1 to 2 or 0 to 2.
I'll give it a 2 on finish. There's something that makes it feel a little bit dry at the end. I think that's the acidity, and then or I don't know, astringency or something like that. But I'm enjoying it, so that's a 2.
All right. Adam.
That astringency sourness is just a little much for me, so I'm going with the 1.
Okay. So -1. Scott's as easy as a 20 out of 25. 29, 18 and a half, I think.
A half, really 3 off.
18. So I think it's 18 and a half from Adam. So I think I'm happy with that. It's a weird.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Judgmental.
Sure.
Okay, on a scale of 0 to 10, like of the beers you've sent me, I would put this at like an 8. This
Oh.
is what one of my more favorite beers. But then again, I like sour beers a lot. So.
And all the rest were crappy. So
no, there's some. That,
the raw beers were -1, and
that's not your fault. I just thought that was God,
and I liked your raw beers too, James.
yeah.
So, different strokes for different folks.
Maybe there's a gene like the one that makes cilantro taste like soap to some people.
Okay, I'm happy with that. It's a weird little beer. It's not what we intended. I was wanting it to be a lot more chocolatey, but as I often have to do, I have to set my preconceptions aside and try not to think about what I wanted it to be and kind of judge it on its own. I think it's a tasty little beer, and the fact that it's only around 3% alcohol, I think it's fun, and finding a beer that low in alcohol that's interesting and invites you to have another sip, I think is pretty good. So anyway,
you sound like you're defending it, James. It was a good beer. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Just not. This isn't BJCP judging. This is very hedonistic. So it's a little too sour for me.
Yeah, I think it's really a tasty little beer. Definitely, the score might sound like I'm trying to say it's not, but it really is.
No, I appreciate you.
And really, it's only the one character just needing a little more chocolate. So I mean, as a first stab, this is a good start. You've got everything else right.
Yeah.
Just a little more chocolate.
Yeah.
I've brewed a million beers where I had like this idea, I'm going to brew this, and then I brew it, and it's like that's not what I was thinking of. But if you're one variable away, I mean, I would take that any day.
Yeah, I think
just one tweak.
About at this point in my homebrew career, I think I would get my feelings hurt, and I would really have some soul searching if y'all tasted it and said, "Oh, this is contaminated and nasty." What the hell are you doing? So, all right.
Well, you haven't sent us one of those yet.
Just wait.
And just to add to the point there of tweaking afterwards, if you have to sell a beer, you get real good at tweaking beers after they're done and pushing them closer towards where you think they'll sell better. I mean, I haven't been at it that long, but that still comes up enough that I feel like I've got my little toolkit of tweakers, tweaks, adjustments, spices, magical herbs.
The Twerkers, that's another channel. That's okay.
That's after a few more beers.
All right, now I have a mission for us. I'm not gonna do another mash your luck at this point because our friends and sponsors at Imperial Yeast have a new seasonal yeast out, the L18 Goat, which is the Ayinger strain. Casey from Imperial told me, and now I guess I can say it's Casey formerly of Imperial, and I want to give a big shout out to Casey Helwig, who is just, you meet a lot of people, when you're in this kind of line of work, and every now and then you find something, well, no, not every now and then. You oftentimes you come across people that are really cool and nice and, fun to talk to and helpful and good at their jobs. And, Casey is all that. And so she's leaving Imperial, or has left Imperial by this point, and is moving on to another job within the industry. I don't know if she wants to publicize that or not, but they posted on the Instagram feed that she, was leaving Imperial. So cheers. When I get my next, I'll toast Casey with the dregs of my little sour beer. So cheers to Casey, and thanks for your friendship and all your support and helping this little show. Okay, so I have a challenge for y'all with this new yeast that's coming out, this new seasonal yeast, L18 Goat from Imperial. I want to do a Bock. So 3 out of the 4 of us have Bocky things. I have the Ayinger Celebrator, or Celebrator, I don't know how it's pronounced, Doppelbock, which is the goat is apparently the Ayinger strain, so I thought that would be appropriate. Adam, what you got?
A New Glarus Gyrator Doppelbock. I think it's a pretty new offering from them that might be year-round or at least seasonal.
And Scott?
I got a Schlenkerla Doppelbock with the oak wood smoke.
Oh, nice.
I'm jealous. I love Schlenkerla. I've never had that one. Never seen it in the wild, so.
Yeah, I can get like 3 or 4 kinds of Total Wine right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you sponsored by Total Wine?
Oh, if only.
Yeah, we could arrange that. Okay, Chris, since you're being the good boy, the good man, and we're sipping on Bocky beers, talk a bit about the style family of Bocks, and what makes a Bock a Bock? What are we shooting for here?
There's Bock beers in Germany, and there's both pale Bocks and dark Bocks, and then there's and those are moderately strong beers, generally tilted towards the malt side. Very, very drinkable. Like, they're not quite session beers because they're like 6 to 7%, but they're not super strong beers either. And then of course there's Doppelbock, which is generally a dark beer, right around 7%, like just over 7%, because that's the legal limit in Germany, that in order to label it as a Doppelbock, it has to be 7%. And yeah, so they're dark malty beers. They generally show the character of Munich malt, and you can dress it up a little bit by either doing a decoction mash, or as most brewers do these days, just add some melanoidin malt or some what's the other one? Aromatic malt. Those are 2 different sort of extremely malty, almost like a super Munich. You might think of it that way. Yeah, so they're good, just good, strong beers, but not super strong. They're relatively dry given their strength. I mean, I think a lot of people think of Bock as like, oh, it's a big chewy beer, and it certainly got more body than like a Pilsner, like a 5% Pilsner. But it's, as a 6% beer, 6 to 7, it doesn't. It still finishes well. It's not like chewy, although some of the Doppelbocks can get into that. So yeah, it's just a strong, sometimes dark, sometimes not lager.
Yeah, I was going to
My
say,
Box.
yeah, the My Box are more kind of
My Box come out in the spring.
golden, or at least my recollections. Most of them are kind of golden in color.
Yeah,
easier drinking.
My Box are, if I remember right, a little more hoppy than normal Bock. not intensely so. They're not IPAs or anything, but yeah.
This celebrator is really super chocolatey. I didn't expect it to be this. It's almost a little. Maybe it's because I'm coming off that really, really tart beer, but it's pretty. It's fairly sweet. It's delicious though. It's really good. It tastes. It drinks a lot bigger than it is. I would have said it was bigger than 6.8%, which is what the bottle says. How's that new Glarus?
Oh, they don't make a bad beer. So, and I'm fortunate. I have in-laws who live up near them, and then this was part of a Christmas gift. So shout out to my mother-in-law who knows exactly what to get me for Christmas. Um, but yeah, it's and I know Dan up there is very traditional when it comes to German brewing. Anytime he's at an event, he's wearing lederhosen.
Yeah.
So like he's all about the German brewing. So I wouldn't expect this to be anything different than a super traditional Doppelbock. But I want to say I've had like Weizenbock from them. I've had just a regular single Bock. I've had yeah, they've done all the Bocks, I'm sure at this point.
If Steve was here, he'd say, and the Barbara Bock is also really nice. Scott, how's your beer?
Oh, it's really good. Smoky. Yeah, it's not dry, but it's not chewy either. So it's yeah, it's a nice little bit of malty. I couldn't say chocolate though, but I'm still dealing with the smoke a little bit.
So I think as far as, I mean, this is a delicious beer, but I'm hoping spring is around the corner, and this is a lager, so I'm hoping to be a little patient and not drink it all before it's really really good. I'm thinking something a little lighter, at least in color, maybe not lighter in alcohol. But the thing I like about like a Maibach is that kind of melanoid-y, kind of decoction-y flavor that to me just screams Bach. It's just like this kind of caramely, toasty character. You get what you get my drift, Chris?
Sure. You want to do a Maibach instead of a
Yeah, let's not.
Dunkless Bock?
Yeah, let's do like a golden kind of nice and kind of malty and toasty, but yet with a strong bitterness backbone to kind of clear the palate.
Well, now we need to get a different beer. That's where I'm not drinking my Bock right now.
I don't have a Maibach. I don't have anything close. This is the Bock that they have. You go with the Bock that you have. So I'm assuming that we want to stick with German malts. And you guys, Scott and Adam, you guys chime in, as well. Should we go with the base malt as Pilsner, or should we go with something like a Vienna or Munich?
I don't want to be too disruptive, but I regularly brew on my Bock commercially, and mine is 1/3 Munich, 1/3 Pilsner, 1/3 Vienna. And that's not suggesting that's what you necessarily do here. I love the symmetry and what each of those malts bring to the table.
Sold American. You
Easy.
Yeah.
Short show. Let's get the drinking.
Yeah. You just want to get to the post show. Are you a Bock brewer, Scott?
No, I've never made a Bock, but I was thinking a lot of Vienna would be nice. But I hear what Adam's saying definitely. But what about a whole bunch of Vienna and maybe some Munich and what else is needed for?
I do think Munich should be the star of the show. I think that's Chris was leaning in that direction too. I think you could go 100% Munich malt and that's it. Make it a smash even, and you'd make a great Maibach. You just or a blend of the different Munichs that Bayerman puts out could be fun too. I would guess, and maybe I'm wrong here. I hope there's some German brewers or drinkers who listen and get angry at the statement, but I would guess that Pilsner doesn't find its way into a lot of my box. Maybe it does.
I'm trying to think. We had Sean Terrell on and tasted his Maibach. It seems like he did Pilsner with a certain percentage of a dark Munich, and his beer was delicious. Not saying that we go that way. I kind of like the idea of doing a blend. Your blend, your a third, a third, a third, and
If you're going to steal my recipe, you need to come up with a punny name because mine is already taken with nothing on my Bach. You sell this one as.
I've got your Bach.
There you go. Well, that's a your Bach. That's an Urbach.
That's a U-Bach.
So you need to do a my Bach.
That's a Maibach.
You got my Bach.
Okay, so who are the three? What are the Vienna, Munich, and what else?
Pilsner is what I
Pilsner.
use. And I actually used Munich too. I don't remember why I chose Munich 2 over Munich 1.
And what's the Lovabond of the Munich 2? Is it?
It's 8.5.
Yeah, that's around what I think Sean said his was 9.
Because regular Munich 1 is what, 5? 4 maybe?
Okay, so should we do 4 pounds of each? Start off with 12 pounds of. I mean, that's a nice big beer.
How many gallons are you brewing?
5. Would we want to go the full third of Munich 2?
So Rogue Brewing, they have their Dead Guy. They call that a Maibach, and that's noticeably amber and dark. But I don't know if that's a case of they just call it a Maibach and it isn't, or if it got recognized as within range. But the recipe I threw out there is pretty noticeably pale. So I think we might have a little wiggle room if you wanted to go with a darker Munich.
Should we add a little melanoidin in there just to get kind of pseudo decoction-y?
I think that'd be a good idea.
I don't believe in it, but also I shouldn't say I don't believe in it. I add a little hint in my Czech beers because I think the Czechs are really more known for decoction than a lot of Germans, but that's my personal opinion. There's probably no science to back that up, or I don't know. I think a little goes a really long ways, and it's funny that Chris, you called it like a super Munich because that's really when you sniff it, it's like a super grain, and it's pretty. You have to have a really light hand when you add it to a recipe.
Like 2 ounces, maybe?
2 or 3 for a 5-gallon batch, I'd say.
Well, let's go with 3 since we got the trinity here of the. We'll just stay with 3s.
Right.
3 ounces melanoidin. This beer is not not known for the hops. Is it just a bittering charge?
Generally, yeah.
I like using some in the finish, but I don't think that's traditional. I think traditionally it's just a bittering charge. And it's almost then like I kind of think of it like a super pilsner, almost like a Doppelpils would be a Maibach. So you're going to get more bitterness, you'll get more of those aromatics. I use Ariana for what it's worth, which is a new school German high alpha acid hop in the whirlpool to get a little bit of that character. But I think that would hurt it being judged professionally, having that kind of character and that level.
So what does your spreadsheet say our original gravity is? Are you spreadsheeting, Chris?
Yeah, if we 5 gallons, if we go with 4 pounds each of Vienna, Munich, and Pilsner, and then 3 ounces of melanoidin, that gets us to, on my spreadsheet, 1061.
How boozy do you want it, James? Do you want 7%? Are you going for 6?
Well, I'm drinking a 6.8% beer.
Isn't the bottom for Bach styles 1065? Or why am I thinking that number? Maybe that's the top for Bach.
No, Bock is like you want to end up 6 to 7%, so like 60 to 70 roughly.
Okay, so right, probably my head went towards right in the middle of that.
I think that unless we want to add like one more pound of one of the Trinity, like maybe one more pound of Pilsner.
Gonna throw the whole thing off, James.
Now
Adam,
you
Don't mess
did
with the
it.
Trinity.
Adam throws his disco mic on the floor and storms out.
That would get us to 1066.
Ooh, Battle of Hastings beer. Okay, let's do 5. Let's do 5 pounds of Pilsner. It'll put Harold on your chest. This is Battle of Hastings joke. Here's arrow in your eye. Okay. History fans, anybody? No. No time team
No.
fan. No time team fans in the crowd. All right, tough crowd. Ooh, looks good on you though. Okay. So you get a
You get a bolus.
yeah. Thank you. All right. So what? How many IBUs would be shooting for?
I'd say
Um,
with that,
I was
25
gonna
to
say,
30.
yeah, 23 to 35. I'm looking at the guidelines now for sticking to the guidelines.
And then the goat. And I'll probably make I usually don't make starters, but I'll dust off the stir plate and probably make a 2-liter starter. Right now, my kegerator is empty, and it is like my sense of humor. It's in the mid-50s. So
Very dry.
very dry.
Very dry.
So that should be good. Anything else? I mean, I don't think I want to add any hops at the end because I want this to be about the malt and about the yeast maybe. Although theoretically the yeast shouldn't contribute a whole lot.
On my spreadsheet, I've got this coming in at about 17,
Percent?
17 SRM.
Oh, I was like, wow.
Wow, really? With
Yeah.
That's interesting. Mine with even split into three, and I'm not using your spreadsheet. I'm using Beersmith. It rates it at 8, having a third each.
Are you using
Wow.
Munich 2?
Yeah, Munich too.
And the Munich 2 is it like 7 or 8 lovable?
8.5.
Okay, my Munich 2 is rated at a lot higher than that. Yeah, if I dial it down to 8.5 on the Munich 2, that brings it down to 12 on mine. Yeah, so we're just using different colors of different malts.
Yeah, there's for anyone listening out there, Munich 1 and 2 and 3 are absolutely not standardized across maltsters. I made that mistake, thankfully, on a very small batch, where I added half of Munich 1 and half of Munich 2, and the Munich 2 from the supplier is actually not even fully diastatic. It's like a crystal malt rather than a
Oh my.
so that beer ended up way sweeter than I intended. It was not a base malt. I used it like a base malt because I didn't read the spec sheet.
Scott, what are your feelings?
No, that sounds great. I'm looking at the goat, and it says the attenuation is about 70 to 74%. I don't know if you guys have that factoring in of where you think it's going to end. But yeah, no, that sounds delicious. Keep it malty and
Yeah.
not syrupy.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have to send me a few bottles of this one, James.
Yeah, I was going to say a good thing it's 5 gallons.
You need to stalk me at the house. Just come on down. Find an excuse to find a used labeler here in Northwest Arkansas and
Here we go.
come on down. We'll have it on tap. Oh man.
That'd be dangerous, James. We don't want that.
It's a small town. People. All right, guys. Any further thought? Anything we've forgotten? Anything that? I mean, I'm not going to do a decoction. I'm sorry, but I think we're set. I think this sounds like a fun recipe.
Yeah, unless they're labeled otherwise, most modern malts are designed to be single infusion mashed.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have to look for specifically, under modified malt if you were gonna, if you were gonna do a decoction mash that meant anything and didn't just screw up what the maltster did. Yeah, so that should work out.
Yeah, I don't mean to turn this into I know it's a touchy subject, decoction versus not, but the one that got me convinced that it makes a difference, Weihenstephaner Premium Lager and their Weihenstephaner Helles, they claim are the same beer. One is decocted, one isn't.
Oh.
And you try those side by side, and you look at the gravities, and you look at the bitterness. If that is true, that statement, I think it is, it makes a difference, but it's also, yeah, why not throw in a little melanoid in and maybe mash a little bit lower because decoction also dries out beers a little bit. So if you really were trying to make people think decoction and you didn't want to decoct at home, then yeah, maybe melanoid in and go a little 1 degree lower on your mash temp.
So maybe mash at like 148 or something.
Yeah, if you were going to do 150 originally, then 148 would probably get you pretty close.
Cool. Awesome. Well, this has been fun, and we have beers in house from Mr. Scott Housel, and I think Adam was wanting to drink them now, but I'm like, no, we need to make more shows. Adam's showing his bottle. No,
I was ready.
We need to make more shows. And Scott, you have volunteered to do another Mash Your Luck next time we get together.
Yes, because I realized I only did 2 real ones where I spun, and then I stole Steve's role and did that one. So, I feel like I'm behind.
Stolen Mash Your Luck valor.
And I have beer to send you guys. I don't know if Chris can be part of the party. I can always send him beers too. So
Chris likes it when people send him beer.
Especially since dry January is finally over, right?
Yeah, I didn't do dry January.
It's moist January here at the house.
I did Chris is too fat 2025, so I've been taking it easy on beers.
Probably healthier than sloppy wet January that I had. So
yeah, I bought a 4-pack of Guinness non-alcoholic just to try it, but I'm gonna have it after dry January is over. So
oh, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good though.
That's
I've tried it.
heard.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was like, I could drink this. I was at a friend's house and they had it, and I was like, can I try one of these? And
okay.
it was surprisingly good.
All right. This is officially time now's the time on Sprockets when we turn off the recording. So
we dance.
Yeah, let's dance.
So thanks guys, and let's do this again soon. Many thanks to Scott, Adam, and Chris. We're supposed to get back together this week to sample Scott's Mash Your Luck challenge and to roll the next one. He's up for another one. We're going to keep on going down the road. If you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to james@basicbrewing.com or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com. And please don't forget to tell us where you're from. Check out our mobile-friendly shop at basicbrewingshop.com. Thanks to everybody supporting us through our Patreon page. Special goodies coming your way. Check all that out at patreon.com/basicbrewing. It's all until next time. Until then, thanks for listening, everybody. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by Kelly Dotson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. In the meantime, stay well and stay tuned. So long.